What is up, everybody? Welcome to this Euro 2025 preview here on Touchline Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the content going on the channel. And let's jump right in. We are very close to the beginning of Euro 2025 in Switzerland. So I just want to go through kind of the three main storylines, the three main things that I am thinking about looking for as this tournament gets underway to kind of set the stage for what we are about to see. Number one is the players who are not going to be there. And specifically within the context of the last 4 to 8 years, last couple cycles for European teams, and specifically the teams who have been major factors at the business end of Euros and World Cups. Here are some of the players who, for a variety of reasons, are not going to be at this tournament. England: Millie Bright, Mary Earps, Fran Kirby. That's your Euro-winning goalkeeper. That's your Euro-winning center back, captain occasionally, leader, and another stalwart who has been part of this national team for years and years and years. Germany: Alex Popp, Lena Oberdorf. Two different reasons. Oberdorf, unfortunately, is going to miss through injury, but that is perhaps the greatest player in the German women's national team history. Again, leader, face of the team, not going to be there. This is a team that has consistently gotten, right, semifinals, finals, been major factors in these tournaments. It's going to look different. France: Wendy Renard, left off the roster, left out of the squad. When you think France women's national team, you think Wendy Renard. When you think winning Champions Leagues, you think Wendy Renard. Again, a French team that hasn't necessarily broken through into terms of getting to finals and things like that, but always comes into tournaments with the opportunity to win and being one of the favorites. It's going to feel very different without her there. Spain: Jenni Hermoso. Obviously, there are a lot of pieces and a lot of players who have been part of this incredible run for the Spain/Barcelona duo, and Hermoso has not currently at Barcelona, but she has been, for unfortunate reasons, at the center of many of the things going on with this team. She is one of those kind of emotional leaders, the veteran, an important part of this team. She's not going to be there either. Right? These are some of the major characters, if you go think back the last 5 to 8 years, and the storylines and what we've been paying attention to when it comes to women's teams at the highest level internationally. These are some of your biggest names: Millie Bright, Mary Earps, Alex Popp, Jenni Hermoso, Wendy Renard. This is going to look and feel very, very different without any of them there. The last one I wanted to mention here too, and there are some other players who their absence is notable for the context of this tournament. I kept it more focused on you as a viewer, as you're walking into this. What makes this different than previous tournaments? What is the thing to know? And the thing to know is that there are a lot of new faces here, and a lot of players you might expect to be here or kind of associate with these teams are not. But the other one I want to mention is Ramona Bachmann, because Switzerland are hosting this tournament. That is your stalwart, your face of the national team. Unfortunately, she is also going to miss through injury. So I just went through a whole list. Obviously, there are more players as well, but I wanted to focus on the changing of the guard, all of these really, really well-known, well-recognized stars who have been at the business end of these recent tournaments who are not going to be there. The second storyline, to me, is the dark horses and this question of, can somebody break through? Because, and I'll get to this in the last storyline, but you have some pretty clear favorites. You know who you expect to be in the quarterfinals, to be in the semifinals. There are also a list of teams that based on recent performances and based on the squads that they're bringing to this tournament, could very easily pull off one upset, catch a break, and find themselves very close to winning this thing. There are 5 in particular here I'm going to run through quickly. One is Sweden. Obviously, Sweden knocked the U.S. out of the most recent World Cup and went on to reach the semifinals of that tournament. Could have gone even farther. That is a very talented team. Lots of experience. They know how to do this. Again, they're kind of in the middle between the teams who have consistently been there. There are 3 of them. And the teams who have never really broken through, because Sweden have broken through from time to time. But this is an opportunity. If you go semifinals of a World Cup, followed by semifinals final of a Euro, now we're talking about something different. So this is their opportunity to build off of what they did in that last World Cup and to really establish themselves in that top category of the favorites and the teams that you expect to be there. Netherlands. World Cup quarterfinals. Lost in extra time to Spain. That means you're doing something right. Continuing to grow, continuing to improve. You've got some big names there. Some experienced veteran players playing for some of the bigger clubs in the world. This is an opportunity. Again, a team, right? Lots of talent. High expectations. Lots of respect for them. Anybody who wasn't as familiar with them certainly learned when they played the U.S. in the World Cup. Can they take that next step? Can they go beat a Spain and England and Germany? Or are they still stuck in that second tier? The next 2 teams I'm pairing together. This is always one of the most interesting things for me when it comes to these tournaments. Denmark and Norway. Norway especially, but Denmark falls into this category too. Feel like it's been generally disappointing. They haven't gotten to the point where they're knocking on the door, they're making semifinals. You feel like they're really close, the way that Sweden have been at times, to potentially at least getting to a final or potentially winning one of these tournaments. That just hasn't been the story with these 2 teams. But you look at these rosters, and they boast some of the best players in the world and have for the past 5 to 10 years. And it hasn't happened. And every time it doesn't happen, it becomes increasingly harder to believe it is going to happen. But you will just never make me be surprised if you told me Norway's in the semifinals. The talent is there. You have the players who can carry you through a tournament and make up for maybe the lack of depth or the lack of overall talent when you're comparing them to the top European teams. I'm always fascinated because Norway on the men's and the women's side have world-class talent. And it just hasn't happened yet. When will it ever happen? And if it does happen, will it be for the men or will it be for the women? So this is another opportunity to undo some of the history here and change the perception surrounding this team. The final team I'm going to bring up here is Portugal. Different story, not a factor, but you cannot deny what they did at the World Cup. This is a young team that is clearly improving and growing and learning and is on the right path to becoming a major player here and to cause teams problems. They almost sent the U.S. home from the World Cup. Nobody thought that they were capable of doing that, and clearly they were. This is an opportunity to build off of that and to really announce themselves as a force to be reckoned with. Can they do more than just play well and hang with some of these really, really good teams? Can they go beat some of them? Can they get to the quarterfinals? Can they put themselves in a position to make the semifinals and really show another tangible step of progress here after what was a really impressive World Cup? Because I would argue out of every team there, you might have walked away being the most impressed or surprised by Portugal. That's not going to be the case here because we know what they're capable of now. Can they show it? Can they reach the next level? The final thing for me here is the battle for supremacy. This is also the storyline I keep coming back to because I just unapologetically believe it's a fascinating story that isn't getting talked about as much as it should. I come into this looking at 4 favorites. kind of two different tiers. Tier 1A is England and Spain. No question about it. They are the best two teams. They're the most proven two teams. They are the favorites. Then 1B is Germany and France. France, it's going to look a little bit different, obviously. It hasn't been great over the past couple years in terms of being where you expect them to be. But you know that the talent's there. You would not be surprised at all if they're in the semifinals, giving somebody a hard time getting close to being able to reach the final. So for France, it's about, can you put yourself in a position to actually win one of these things, not just make a deep run? For Germany, it's can you get over the hump? You have been so close, played so well, given yourself so many opportunities, and just continue to catch a bad break here, come up just short there. There is no question about this team and what they're capable of. Can you actually do it this time and not just put in a really good semifinal performance and finish third again? That kind of thing. Going back to England and Spain. Every time you feel like you have this kind of figured out, it seems like there's another twist in this story that's been unfolding. England, obviously, reigning champions of this tournament. Spain, reigning World Cup champions. Widely regarded as the best team in the world. Except, didn't look so great at the Olympics last summer. The U.S. did look pretty good. Emma Hayes is now coaching them. Maybe they're now the best team in the world again. It's an interesting conversation. Doesn't pertain to the Euros. But at least in Europe, you have to view Spain as the best team. However, you followed up the disappointing Olympics by a lot of those players, not all of them, but enough of them that it is absolutely fair to bring up in this conversation, losing to Arsenal in the Champions League final. And I keep talking about this because it matters. That loss changes the conversation because it goes from, okay, it took them a little bit to actually get over the hump against Lyon, but when they played a team that they were clearly better than, they got the job done. To, they've gone back and forth with Lyon. It hasn't been particularly great. And now they just lost a Champions League final that they should have won. So you are looking, if they don't show up and perform here, you are looking at back-to-back summers of massive disappointment and a rather embarrassing Champions League final loss for Alexia Putellas, Ataya Bonmati, Samuel Paralluelo. You go down the list. Catacol in net, a lot of these players. You can't just continue to say this is the best team in the world if they're not performing consistently and showing you that. Despite the fact that they have the best roster in the world, that Bonmati is the best player in the world. They got to live up to the hype here. And it looked like they had finally figured it out and that they were going in that direction, that they were going to dominate, kind of in a stretch like the men's team did back, decade and a half ago. And that doesn't mean win every tournament, but that means come in as the clear favorites, get to the semifinals at least, win most of them. Maybe something weird happened, you lose in the shootout, that's fine. But that's not how this has gone since this group of players started from the very beginning. And it has not been a continual progression on an upward trajectory, because now it's going back down again. They got to find a way to stop that. On the England side, it's the reverse. Not your team that spends all the money. A second or third best team in your league, second best right now, just went and knocked off Barcelona in the Champions League final. You won the Euros. If you win this Euros with a decent amount of players from Arsenal, and now won 2 of the last 3 tournaments that you have participated in, and you're proving that Arsenal can go knock off Barcelona. It's one thing if Chelsea did it. Chelsea are the ones spending the kind of money to go toe-to-toe with Arsenal. It wasn't even them who won the Champions League. We're having a very interesting conversation here. So it's not just, obviously this is storyline in every tournament is, how does this look for the favorites? Can they deliver on expectations? Who ends up winning? What does it all mean? But it is specifically set up to be fascinating for this tournament because you have 2 countries with some overlap between club and national team. The Champions League matters in all of this, and neither of them have really been able to wrestle control from the other. But it was this upward trajectory of Spain coming all the way through, triumphing at the World Cup, despite everything going on. And now if England wins this, England has more or less wrestled control back with Arsenal beating Barcelona in the Champions League. So it's a fascinating stage. And then if maybe a Germany or a France or somebody else goes and wins this tournament, and now all of a sudden they got to be in that conversation too. So those are the things that I'm looking for in this tournament. If you want to kind of just break it down to the basics of what are the storylines, what's going on here, you've got a lot of faces that you might recognize if you're kind of a casual women's soccer fan who follows the World Cup, follows some of the bigger clubs, but doesn't, pay attention to everything week in, week out. A lot of those players are not here across a lot of countries that are expected to be major factors here, favorites, that kind of thing. There's this other crop of teams that either are on the rise, have performed well recently, trying to break through and get to that top level. And then you have those teams at the top level that are either trying to actually get the trophy instead of just coming close, or in the case of Spain and England, kind of going back and forth with each other to see who really is the best national team in Europe. So this should be a phenomenal tournament. Super, super excited. Is what to watch for. Those are your storylines. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time.